All right, my name is Ann Mazar, and this is the Land Use Committee meeting on October 22nd, 2024. I'm the chair of the committee and I represent, no, I'm just the chair of the committee, that's all. And why don't we go around and introduce ourselves?
Okay. Oh, and then if you could mention that it's being recorded.
It's being recorded.
Yeah.
The meeting is being recorded.
Yeah, and then also because it's hybrid, we need to do roll call votes.
Okay.
So just.
Did you start recording?
I did start.
I see a little red dot, so yeah. Great, thank you. All right, I'm Elena Brudos. I'm the select board representative.
Barry Roll, planning board.
Carolyn Barthel, alternate.
Frank Nero, Land Use Committee.
Great, and I think since Phil is here, you can introduce yourself and you can do your presentation. And do you want to share to be on the screen or?
Yeah, I'll probably do a share if you don't mind.
Okay.
I'm Phil Sipley, the chair of the MSCC Building Committee, looking for a new community center within town. And also a member of the Council on Aging. You want me to just roll into mine, Ann, or you want to do the minutes?
Oh, no, you can go. Why don't you go?
Okay. Hold, please.
Do I have to share or can you just share?
We'll find out.
Okay.
Something that happened both ways. Are you able to share?
Peter
Phil?
Coffin's here too.
Good, okay,
I'm
great.
back.
Oh, okay. Hi, Peter.
He's muted.
Can you guys see it?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
No, Peter's here.
Yeah, Peter Coughlin from Conservation.
Yes, Ann, thank you, and I thank the committee for letting me just give you an update of where we're at with the community center. As you know, we lost the vote back in May by 52 votes in the general voting, but passed town meeting. With that, in review with the select board and the committee, felt that the need was still there. It's still a resource that's sorely undersized. So our committee went off to work and try to figure out how we could reposition the center and reduce the cost. We listened to what happened at the meeting. We said, okay, let's try to reduce some costs. So essentially what we did is we took the facility, worked with the architect, did a complete needs analysis again, and came up with a reduced cost from 13.2 to 11.9. And we reduced the square footage 11,676 to 9,600 square foot. And essentially, we were able to maintain the service levels. And the building, I think you've seen pictures of, so I won't bore you with all that. I shouldn't say bore you, it's actually a very attractive building. The location is still targeted for North Ave across from Clough. And that would be behind the houses as indicated on this map. All testing has been completed. Any questions about arsenic and things of those things were resolved actually at the last vote. It came up perfectly clean. And essentially, I don't have a pointer that'll show you, but we took the building and moved it, the front and the back, and moved them together a little bit, knocked out to 2,000 square feet. Maintaining most of the upstairs capabilities, moving some functionality downstairs, and essentially still have areas for the various clubs and groups that meet there, which are approximately 20 clubs. But we'd hope to expand that to have multiple programs running simultaneously on both floors of the center. Some of the key issues, the center right now, you really only have one room that's functioning as an ADA compliant area. So you can only run one event or one activity at a time. And that's in essence why we needed the larger room upstairs and have it dividable. And then additional meeting spaces downstairs for events and or programs. I think the key thing to remember is that this center is also the disaster recovery for the town. Currently, we're capped and limited to, I believe, 25 or 35 people in our current center. It is the emergency center. And this new building would facilitate the capability of doing 125 people. And it would be a disaster center for the town. It's located quite nicely across from Clough School, so it'd also be a backup center for that school in case there's an emergency there. The cost, we're comfortable with the cost in our estimates again at this time. And you may not be able to see this, but I will send this document to Ann and she can forward it. But essentially, at the 11.9, we still have a significant contingency for design and pricing. So we have close to 10 or 12% contingency there, so that we're confident with the price and the estimate of the building. The independent pricing organization did this estimate as it did in the past, and not just the architect like sometimes you'll get. So this is an independent company who's had a proven track record for over 20 years in municipal buildings. And I guess the real key thing is we go back to this, we're really looking for the various committees and the various people in town to recognize the need that we do need a center for this town. The senior center was built by town donations many years ago. It was updated by town donations many years ago. But it's been outdated for some time now. And it needs to be recognized as a facility within the town that's not only a senior center, but a full center for the town. So, and that's what we're looking to do. We have another open house meeting, information meeting coming up next Monday at 6:30 at the town hall. It'll be recorded as well as broadcast on ABMI. And then the town vote will be the following week. Any questions or concerns or issues? I'd like to hear from anyone in the committee or in the audience.
Okay.
Phil, I want to, I talked with a neighbor today, and he was $12 billion. $12 million sounds like a lot of money to him.
Yep.
Because he knows the schools are going to be also having needs. And I just want to pass on to you what I'm going to be doing with him. And I encourage us to make sure that you all did, that we follow up and provide this information, that you all did a lot of homework since it got rejected the first time, with all the kinds of opportunities to use this space.
Mhm.
That currently these needs are not necessarily being met very well.
Mhm.
And that, I want to encourage us to feel that, to emphasize that our town has needs and they're not being met. I'm not sure exactly how they're being met. I don't know where the Girl Scouts meet and stuff like that, but I really want to emphasize that this is this is for the community, and for us to be a community, we need to have a community center and we need to have our needs met.
Well spoken, well spoken. I think the cost of the sticker shock is real. The 11.9 is a real number. It's still sticker shock. It's less than 13.2. But we have to realize that since 2019, 2020, the building construction costs in general have gone up 38%. The state and federal regulations for municipal buildings are substantially more. This will have a full sprinkler system in by law. It'll have, I think it's 50,000 tons of water storage underneath, power capability to run that sprinkler system. It'll have all the latest. It'll be a green building. It'll have. We're looking at heat pumps, as well as it'll be compatible for solar. We will do that initiative once it passes to try to get grants and funding for the solar. We didn't include it in here. We do have some price estimates for it, but we couldn't inflate the original cost. But the building will be solar ready. And as you said, Carol, the building is not just for the seniors. The community center, there's a full food pantry there. There's today, again, 20 groups meet there. I think tonight or tomorrow night, or next week, one of the Lions will be there. The brothers have used it. The Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts have used it. The Democrats for their organization in town use it. And it's available for the people, but this new building potentially would have the capability to do more of a family center that people could use. Imagine if you wanted to throw a birthday party or some event for your family, you could actually rent this center for the cost of the cleaning and the oversight, which is minimal. And the family could use this facility to have a recreation activity for the family. In addition, we'd be able to run night programs and day programs. There's a lot of opportunity here. And when I look at it, I look at the seniors who have contributed to this town, if I look at that segment of the population. And they've paid a lot of dues in raising their families here, being vibrant members of the town. And I think it's time that we give back to them what's appropriate. And recognize that they've contributed a lot to the growth and success of Mendon. And that the 28% of the folks probably deserve a little more than they're getting today. It still breaks my heart on the veterans program we're having a couple of weeks. We can't invite all the veterans in town to the veterans program because we don't have a place for them.
Yeah, can I just add to that? So I know it came up that there is entertainment for the veterans program, and there's a chorus that sings for this. And there was discussion about how many of the chorus members could actually fit in to sing. So they were, talking about like, well, one of the chorus members said, well, I don't want to have me be there at the, cost of not being able to invite a veteran to the program. So that is, it's a serious space limitation.
No, but we can't invite all the veterans to come to an event
Right.
who are veterans in this town
Exactly.
because we don't have a public space for them.
And you can't, you have to restrict who you can have for entertainment or volunteers helping because of the space limitations as well. And similarly, the Senior of the Year event that is put on by the Lions Club, it honors Mendon seniors. That event is typically held at the Unitarian Church, but that space does not have sufficient parking and also, I guess, does not have reliable ADA access. And so I know attending that, I saw a number of attendees like set aside their walkers to be helped up the stairs. And an event for seniors, an event for veterans, we should be able to have it fully ADA accessible with plenty of accessible parking. And that is something that our current center, and actually not many places in Mendon have that capability. And I know some people have said, well, what about the schools? But the schools are used during the week at the same time when typically senior events are held. So it's, I feel like Mendon can do better by having the ADA accessible spaces. And there is a cost associated with the ADA accessibility. So having the required elevator, for example, like in addition to the fire suppression system. So these are things that are needed that will be needed actually if we do any updates to the current site. We would need to make these same investments to have the building be fully ADA accessible as well as meeting fire code. Yeah. So these costs are not specific to that location. They are specific to an expansion. You can't expand a municipal building and have it not be to code. But Barry, you would know more than me about, from your planning experience, but.
Well, the ADA is taken by the building department. The building commissioner is in charge of all the ADA.
Could you
as far as the codes go.
Say it louder, please.
The ADA is controlled by the building commissioner in town. As far as the building codes, he determines.
But it's it's not. These are not local. This is not Mendon deciding how to what the ADA compliance is.
It's the government.
When I was talking to this neighbor of mine, I said, that it's 2,000 square feet less, but the cost, it becomes more expensive per square foot. He didn't quite get that ratio, I didn't really explain it adequately, but it occurred to me that here you're talking about an elevator. You have to have an elevator, period, no matter what size it is. You
Yes.
have to have,
Right. The fire suppression.
yeah, a whole number, and
Right.
a furnace, and,
Right.
all of these things that come with the building, no matter what size it is.
Right.
So I would really emphasize that, and try to explain that, why it still is so expensive, even though we've cut down on the price.
Yeah, and you're spot on with that. The infrastructure cost between a 9,600 square foot and 11,600 square foot is still predominantly there. You still have the heating, you still have the cooling, you still have the elevators. All those things you need to be compliant are still there. So you're right. You don't get a $1-for-$1 savings.
Right, yeah, so that would be really helpful to explain why it becomes more expensive per square foot.
I just noticed Peter Kaufman has a question. Peter, what's your question? You have to unmute. Can I unmute?
Yeah,
Hey, Peter,
Do you have a question?
your hand is up.
I don't know, okay.
If a question does come up, Ann, or anyone, just,
what was the vote count last time?
So
I'm
what was
sorry?
the vote?
What was the vote count? What was it, the figure, by how many votes was it?
52.
52,
Yeah,
and that was a town meeting,
Town meeting, it passed by the 2/3 majority,
and at the ballot,
and the ballot, it missed by 52 votes.
yeah, that's it.
so this time it's going to what, town meeting and then another ballot, or
So
Yeah.
first the ballot and then the town meeting.
first the ballot?
Right, so it'll be on the,
November.
it is on the ballot that is, a lot of people have right now, so for the
Yeah.
November 5th election,
Well, you're gonna get a serious turnout for this election.
definitely,
of
so,
course.
yes. It is question 6 on the ballot,
Okay,
and then it will be, in the November 18th special town meeting as an article. No matter the outcome for the election, we will vote for it at the November 18th meeting as
the
well.
November town meetings are usually sparsely attended.
That is, yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it's hopefully people will show up to voice their opinion one way or the other.
Yeah.
That's what democracy is all about, is having people express their,
Yeah.
express their opinions.
So what I'm going to be doing, since I was talking to this neighbor who used to be a teacher, and he left teaching because it just didn't pay.
Mhm.
And so he's keenly aware of the expenses in the school and how the teachers need to be adequately paid. And I said, absolutely, I agree with that.
Sure.
And he was worried that if people vote for the community center, then they're gonna be less likely to vote for the school over school money for next time. And, Ann, Elena, you said you were interested in having somebody to do a history.
Oh, of the.
Have you
yeah.
found somebody to do that?
I have not. Yeah, I think I've said it would be really valuable for Mendon to have a history of the capital projects and the overrides and what, like, very often projects have to come through multiple times. I mean, it's happened with operational overrides, it's happened with capital projects.
And schools.
So with the schools, with the library, with the police station, so I think it would just be really useful to see this project in that bigger picture context. I know that there are members of the select board working on capital planning, working with a working group to look at the future of capital needs in Mendon, but I feel like it would be useful to have the past as well to show that context. And I think also when people have, so similarly, when people have the sticker shock from the cost of this project,
Yeah.
they're comparing it to projects that happened 5 or 10 years ago. And I think, equally, those projects equally had sticker shock associated with them.
At that time.
At that time. But this feels like it feels steeper because it's been 5 years since we had our last big capital project for the police station. But that project was offset by having CPA funds because it was the restoration of a historic building. And so that, I think, affected sort of the perception of how much a project costs like this. So I think Chief Kersey has said like how much that building would cost if it were built today, and I think he thinks it would be, do you remember, Phil? I feel like he said like 12 million at least.
Yeah, 12 million comes to mind. I think you're correct, Elena. I think he did indicate it'd be about $12 million building today. Costs are astronomical today. And there's no 2 cents about it, but each month that we delay or each time we go on, the price will go up with $100,000.
Oh, yeah, easy.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, in the inflation factor, we have the inflation factor built into the estimate so that when we hit the ground running with actual construction, because we have the OPM, we have the design, the actual out to bid. So we have some time before we start to break ground. So we've got that inflationary cost already built in based on a successful vote in November.
Mm-hmm.
And back to, to your other point, I think it was stated, I think, by Mike Goddard, and I think maybe you reinforced Elena, we're not a one and done situation. There's been a lot of time and investment in the capital planning over the past year and a half. I've been participating in a working group and I understand more of the town's needs. And we're really looking at to take this debt exclusion for a period of through 2029, I believe, but there'll be more funds available because other debt is falling off. So it's not a one and done. You take this and you have it for the rest of your life. You can't do something else. If we begin to plan, and there's great efforts going on in the recreation space, which is a town need we bumped into back in May. I think we recognize and we're getting close planning with the school committee. And I think there's been good, strong progress in providing capital expenditures for highway and fire this year as well, for needs that they had for equipment and getting themselves up to speed. So the town has matured, I think, in the way it processes multiple projects at one time. And I think this, as Chief would say, he said, the senior center got bumped off the plan when this police station got built. It wasn't even considered way back when it was needed 10 years ago when some other priority was up. It got moved around the time of the town hall being refurbed. So this is one of those projects that keeps getting put off and put off, put off. I think when I first took this assignment on, and I met with the select board early on, I said, I'd like to see this building built in the lifetime of the people who are using the building today. And, I really feel that. We keep putting that off, putting it off, putting it off. I think it's time for a priority for the whole town to recognize a community center is just invaluable. But again, also recognizing that the seniors have a right to get some of the expenditures of the town.
Yeah. I really encourage you to have it in your presentation, to have that chart that you have of all the different places and where you want to put, the space for that's allocated for each of the rooms and how it will be used on such as, each day of the week sort of thing. I think that would be, that people will see that it really has there is a real need here. That is not, that, you don't want to necessarily overwhelm people with detail, but I think for them to understand that that you've done your homework, and I think I suppose you could have that documentation available for people to see on their own if they really want to dive into the details, but it would be useful for them to understand and, you know, say, here's this piece of paper here, this is the homework we've done about this, this is how the needs will be, met. If we do this.
Frank has a question. Frank?
I was just gonna ask Phil if you could quantify the effect on taxpayers, because my feeling is that it probably didn't pass because of the cost. Everyone feels it's needed, but I think people want to know, what's this going to mean for me? If, you know, even if they use it or don't use it. And I think in talking to people, I certainly don't have an answer to be able to say, this is what it may cost on an annual basis.
I'd be happy to give you that, Frank. The assessed values are across the board, but if we take a $500,000 assessed value, not street value of your home, the cost would be $130 a year, roughly $11.25 a month. That's a trip to Dunkin' Donuts and getting a bagel or a muffin. I don't mean to be slight about that, but it's a small cost to provide a service for the entire town for a $500,000 assessment. It goes up gradually from there and goes down if it's less. Some of this, excuse me, some of the seniors and the older folks have been in town a long time. Their homes may not have gone much further. Their assessed value may be lower. Some of the newer houses obviously are bigger and more assessed, but also they cost more, and hopefully the people will be able to afford to pay a little more.
Sure, and I think that's helpful when we can put an annual cost on it that people might be it might be a little bit easier to swallow, is my point, because it is a important need. But I think families are struggling now, and it's easier to say no for some people than it is to say yes, this is a great benefit, and it's very affordable from a tax standpoint.
Yeah, I look at, this is a difficult time. I recognize that. I mean, inflation's really hit everyone, and cost of everything has gone up. But I think for a relatively small investment, we can gain a tremendous asset for the town, all the people in town, not only the seniors, but the entire community.
I agree, and I think that for the average voter, I think that's good information for them to decide on. The ultimate cost to their families and what it will provide them.
Yeah, the bottom line, we have been trying to publish it. It's on the website, town website, I believe. It's in informational pieces that were mailed to each house. It's been in the newspaper. It's been talked about on Facebook, in the bulletins. And Frank, I would urge you to ask all your neighbors and tell them what it's going to cost them.
Sure.
And they can do the math. If they have a assessed value of $1 million, that would be double that, I guess, would be the simplest way to do the math.
Okay.
And if it's less than that, they can, fraction it off.
Yeah, I think that's important to apply it to an individual taxpayer. They look at the big number, and I think that overwhelms them. But if we broke it down, I think it's a little bit easier to accept as, the cost of doing business, I guess.
Yeah, and the other important thing, some people, this is not a permanent 2.5 override. This is a debt exclusion, meaning that when this debt falls off or begins to fall off like other debt, there's more space to keep future capital investments to move forward. So it's not something.
That's the biggest thing you gotta hit at the town meeting.
That's what?
That's the biggest thing you gotta hit at the town meeting, is debt exclusion. It's not an override.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
And for those terms, just in and of themselves, doesn't necessarily tell people what that means to how that actually impacts the town. So explaining that would be helpful.
Right, I know there was a presentation, our new town administrator, I guess it's been since July, so I guess he's not that new anymore, but he did a presentation on the financial aspects of this this proposal. So that is in the, that was from last Wednesday's select board meeting. So hopefully that I haven't checked to see if that's up online, but it might be useful to like highlight what time in the meeting that presentation is so that that could be shared with the public.
How long is the debt exclusion for?
30 years.
I won't be here.
Never know.
Yeah,
So,
other debt will fall off by then, though.
right, well, and it's actually the way it's going to be, that it won't be taken all at once, it'll be taken on in, you know, chunks, so a few years for different stages of the project, but we're voting on at the special town meeting for up to 30 years. It may not be a full 30 years, but that gives the flexibility to have those 30-year loans, but there will be combinations of different, of short-term loans as well as the long-term loans. And also, you know, these are estimates, we don't know what the what the interest rates will be. And then, actually another point is, these are expected maximum increases, so with the contingencies built in, and also we are optimistic that the town will be receiving some federal funding that will be, so there is, this project made it onto Congressman Auchincloss's list of projects that he's pushed forward. It has made it through committee, but Congress has yet to vote on that package. But Mendon could receive $850,000 from the federal government for this project. And so that is, we cannot sort of remove that from our estimate until we have it, but from everything I've heard, once it makes it to this stage, it is, I guess, more likely than not that we will get the money.
Great.
We did ask for the whole amount, when we applied for this, funding, but I guess nobody ever gets the full amount. But I think 850,000 would be like also, that would, you know, reduce the amount of debt, or potentially gives the possibility to put on the solar panels, or, you know, maybe some other things that got removed from the project. So that would be, once that funding comes in, fingers crossed that it does come in, that will also be, you know, money that is not directly paid by Mendon taxpayers.
Yeah, in addition to that, there's potentially $100,000 coming from the state with Murray and Fatman in a petition to try to get some funds there. But the thing that should be known is that all these grants and these things from the state and federal, unless we commit as a town to a project, if you don't have a project, they're not gonna give you money.
Nope.
Yeah.
And you know that well.
Yep, totally.
If you don't have a project, a town approved blessed project for the 11-9, whatever there, we may be close. And I think, Elena, you mentioned correctly, we're pretty far up the rank of getting this potentially as a federal at 850,000, which would be phenomenal. And it would have some benefit to all of us, and taxpayers as well. But we need to get it. We need to approve it. If we don't get it approved, don't just take that and go somewhere else. And it is I think one of 5, and I think there's like 30 some, I believe, applicants for state from
Yes, so I can't remember the numbers, but there was a rather lengthy review process, and this project, because there have been so many studies to sort of get us to the point of this estimate, it was seen as a viable project, and projects that were more aspirational did not get approved for the next level. So this Congressman Auchincloss's office felt that this was a viable project.
Yeah, and Bill, I don't know if you heard, but Barry said that definitely would be something to mention at the town meeting, you know, the possibility of that funding.
Very good. We need, obviously we need to get past the vote before the town meeting, but yes, I think that's important. The other thing, we talked about due diligence, not only in that grant that we provide, or the request for the grant, but we completed traffic studies on the sites, the various sites we looked at. We looked at 4 different sites. There's been quite a bit of work that's gone on in the past 2 years. And the needs analysis really started somewhere about 10 years ago. So this isn't something that just came up 2 years ago. There was proposals running around 5 years ago, but because of police stations, because of, it never got past the select board. So it was always, knocked down. But this will be like the third or fourth architectural design of this facility. So it's not something
It
brand new.
keeps shrinking, it keeps shrinking.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna move on and, but
Sure.
thank you so much, Phil. That was good information. And does someone want to make a motion to support this?
I'll make a motion to support it.
I'll second, I mean,
Oh, I'm an alternate.
yeah, I'm happy to second it.
Although, any more discussion? All right, why don't we do a roll call vote? Elena?
Okay, Brugos, aye.
I'd roll right.
Barthel,
aye.
Nero, aye. Peter? Oh, I wonder if he's in the chat. Well, Mazar, aye. So that's a majority anyways.
I thank you all for giving me the opportunity to discuss this.
One last thing, are you going to have, at this presentation on Monday, are you going to have a list of all the different committees and boards that are supportive of this?
I think we're gonna have the people we've talked to. We've talked to the committees, we've talked to 2 of Ann's, we've talked to the FinCom and the select board, and we have those 4 supported. We haven't gone to the building committee or all the other committees at this point. They're aware of it, I think.
Okay, well, whatever boards you have, whatever the list is, I would encourage you to share that with people so they know that the leadership of the town is supportive of this.
Yeah, I'm getting some feedback from the school committee and their support, so hopefully that'll be finalized in an informal way. Members of the school committee are strongly behind it and actually have some of our signware in their lawn, so that's good news.
Okay.
And then some of the remote clubs like the Lions are 100% behind it, supporting it. And the current organizations, I think, that use the building would be 100% behind it because they'd have a facility that would be something they could use better. But anyway, I'll let you carry on. But thank you all for giving us the time to discuss this. Thank you for your support. I'd ask you all to go get 10 other voters to say yes.
Already
As a
voted.
private citizen.
Thanks, Phil. Thank you, Phil.
Phil.
And Peter, I got your chat as an aye.
Oh,
So,
okay, all right.
Frank, Peter says aye.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye-bye.
And I,
Did everyone get a chance to look at the second?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Brugos, aye.
I'd roll right.
Barthel, aye.
Mazar, aye. Frank?
Nero, aye.
And Peter, aye.
I see it up there, it popped up this time.
Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, the next thing is to discuss transfer a Foundry Park account to the parks. That project started a long time ago, and it was a fundraiser, and we got money to redo Founders Park. But at this point, I think that it's a good time to switch over to parks because it's park, and so I just wanted to know what you thought about that.
They're maintaining it, right?
They maintain it. I mean, there's volunteers that do weeding. We need to get something more formalized, But yeah, they mow it and everything. And also, Dan is here, and so in terms of paying bills, like when Bartlett Tree Experts do things, if I'm not in town, they send paper bills so that I don't see it, and it's just I think it fits, to be in the parks. And so there's I think $6,000 right now in the account.
So what, I maybe misses where did the funds come from originally?
All fundraising.
Okay,
donations.
okay, donations.
So there was a
Okay.
separate account.
Okay.
And at some point that should be replenished, but or maybe rolled into the budget, the
Mhm.
parks budget.
Right, okay.
How would we do that?
I don't know. I think that's a question, that would be a question for Jeremy.
Well,
So-
yeah, probably that would be like when they're putting together the budget,
Right.
during that time.
Right.
So,
So this is an amount that is it's just an account, so it's not, there's not money coming into it right now, so,
right.
yeah. I don't know, it might be worth checking in, with Jeremy about this, but I think, makes sense to me to have it be, in the hands of people who are actively involved with the maintenance.
I agree.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you how much is in the account. Okay, this is but I will move forward with that. Okay. Okay, yeah, so right now in Founder's Park, there's about $7,000, closer to 7,000. So I mean, it's a good amount for them parks to get started with it.
Mhm.
All right, any questions on that? Right, I don't know, do we need to vote on that, do you think?
It makes sense.
Okay, would someone like to make a motion?
Other one.
Okay, I move to, transfer the Founder's Park account to Parks and Rec. Is it the commission or the department?
I think when the department.
Department,
Yeah.
okay. I guess pending, the logistics from maybe the, town administrator and or, treasurer collector. I mean, I think there's probably a process, but.
Okay, yeah, I'm
Sorry.
sorry.
Long motion, but yeah. Pending getting all the, i's dotted and t's crossed.
Second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All right, oh, wait,
I'll second.
okay, I'm on second.
I think,
Oh, did you?
I think
already?
they're- I think they're-
All right. All right, all those in favor?
okay, Brugos, aye?
I roll around.
Barnville, aye.
Mazar, aye,
Nero, I.
and let's see.
Peters up there.
Peter, aye. All right,
And who seconded that motion?
Barry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The next item is discuss trail grant next steps. So this is the trail that we got through CPA, $3,500 to do the engineering on a trail that will hopefully start at 131, go through Vandersloot's property and into Hopedale. And then another one that would start at the senior center area and go through the town open space. And then we're working with this condominium group up at Dudley Road. They have some open space to see if they want us to put a loop in there. And eventually the two trails might connect, but right now they'd be standalone. And we want to incorporate sections that would be ADA accessible.
Mhm.
And so we've been working with this company and we're gonna do an on the ground walk with them. And so that's sort of where that's at. And once they're gonna give us information as to like the best route to go, what physical work needs to be done, maps, costs, how much that all costs. And then from that, I'm hoping to write for a trails grant because it could be kind of expensive.
Right.
And so it might be a combination of CPA, it's usually the matching funds, so I think it might be CPA funds and,
Would it become expensive?
well,
Just
there's
to-
like,
question.
there's one, it would be crossing over Muddy Brook, so there would be a bridge.
Well, I think if it's
ADA.
ADA accessible, I'm sure the surface is,
Yeah.
there must be,
Right.
Yeah,
restrictions on what types of surface or,
Yeah.
Mhm.
And also, we have the storage company that bought 36 Milford Street, which is right, the town sold it to them, it was town property. They donated $40,000 for trails, and so that could go for the matching money also.
Oh, nice.
So,
So to connect the trails, you have to go through Dennis Shaheen's and Fabricati's and.
right, and that's not happening now, and that there might be other ways to go also. Yes.
Okay, well, you go through Hopedale and come back in.
Yeah, something like that, right. But at this point, these would still be two nice standalone trails, but the idea would eventually be to possibly connect them. And, yeah.
And so what are the next steps?
Right.
2,500.
Oh, do we need voting on funding?
We don't need to vote on
Okay,
anything because, the CPA at town meeting, we voted 3,500.
Okay,
And actually, it's gonna cost $300 more, but this is something that we could use CPA administrative funds on to make that difference, so I am gonna bring that up at the CPA meeting.
okay,
So anyways, that's just where we're at.
okay. That sounds great.
Yeah, I think it'd be really nice with the senior center, but we would move forward with or without the senior
Right.
center.
Mm-hmm.
So the next is the Inman Hill Trail. I don't know if you received the emails, but the Basic Trail Riders Association did complete it, and there's some pictures. I don't know if you looked in their newsletter, but
I didn't see it.
I can share my screen and put the newsletter up.
They finished now?
I think they're finished, they just need to do signage, so they're not doing any more work now. Yeah. All right, let's see. So this is the trail that we walked, and that's where they cleared. And it actually, well, it says this project cost $10,700, 24.76 hours of, I think, volunteer time, and then the work that was done probably by the person with the equipment was $970. So that was a nice donation by Bay State Trail Riders Association. And here are some pictures of the trail. And that's what it looks like right now. And what would happen in the future is they're not laying down any surface because there's hay fields there, and we don't want to disrupt that. And so it would just be mowed after this. And we'd put signage up to identify the trails and direct people. And this connects to the other trails that go into the Inman Hill Wildlife Conservation Area and into the Quistit trails also.
I think they had an aerial picture there too.
In that,
Yep, in that paper in that issue of that paper, somewhere on one of the pages.
I have a question.
well, I think that's the aerial, yeah.
I have a question. Is there a place on the Mendon town website where maps show the trails, all the trails that we have?
Yes.
There's different maps of different areas, like if you bring up the town forest, you see the trails there, if you bring up Inman Hill, you see the trails there.
Okay,
You have to
this
go-
one.
So they're different, it's a drop down sort of thing?
Yeah,
Okay,
I mean, you go to Parks and Rec website or the Land Use Committee website, and it'll say trails on the side, and then you can, see them. So this one's not up there now because they just finished it, and,
Right.
No,
No, that's
there's no
fine.
signage or
It just occurred to me that I'd not asked that question before. No, so.
Yep. So that's the status. Is there any questions or comments? Okay. The Denton property, which is on Thayer Road, is 200 plus acres. Mendon received all the funding for that. We just,
Good job,
yeah,
congratulations.
yeah.
Which one?
It's on Thayer Road. It's the Peter Denton's property. It's 200 acres. It's a really nice property. And so,
Yeah.
The Nature Conservancy gave $600,000, Audubon gave $200,000, we voted at town meeting for $500,000, and then the last thing we're waiting on was a land grant, and that's $500,000. So we're just working through all the millions of requirements and
Yeah.
forms and,
Thank you so much for all of your persistence with
Yeah.
that. I know it's been
All the
a
pieces.
lot of work to chase people down.
Yeah, but,
Yeah.
I'm glad we were successful, and Metacomet Land Trust also, they're not giving money, but they helped so much, yeah,
Okay,
so.
that's great news.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's wonderful. A lot of pieces of the puzzle.
yeah. And then last, meeting, I mentioned that we applied for this grant to get seed money for the Green Communities position, 10 hours, and we did not get that, I just found out today.
Oh,
So I said to Jeremy.
Seed money for what?
For, 10 hours a week to have a permanent person that would be an energy coordinator. And so I told Jeremy, and he said, I think we can work things out, and I'm meeting with him Thursday to see what we might be able
We'll
to do.
figure out how to make that
well,
happen.
that's
Okay.
disappointing, but I guess we can't get all of the
No.
grants, so.
No.
Right,
So, I guess, okay.
well,
I'm glad to know that it still seems that Jeremy still thinks that we can work that into the budget.
He
Because I know
does.
that,
oh, yes.
that hopefully, right, we still will be well positioned for more grants because of that work.
Yes.
Right, and so, for example, this round of grants, for the Green Community grants, it didn't happen,
Mm-hmm.
and if we had a person, it probably would have, but, the Meta grant that we had gotten before, it was a technical assistance grant, and they looked at the town hall, the fire station, and, the highway. And for energy efficiency projects that we could write grants for, and they didn't really come up with much. They were all, they didn't have good paybacks. And the only thing they came up with was, insulating the pipes in town hall, and that was like $5,000. And so I think that's something that we could buy the materials and have someone do it, but that would help.
Yeah.
And then there's other things, there's another grant I think in the spring, and so we'll look more closely at that. What we could, grants we could apply for. And on 75 Providence Street, with the house and the barn, the paddock property, Jack got a technical assistance grants to help us, figure out what to do with like that 5-10 acres in the front, the back would be open space. For affordable housing, and that is starting to move forward now. So hopefully we'll get some information on that.
From whom?
It's Mass Housing, it was a grant from Mass
From
Housing.
Mass Housing, okay, got it.
And we're gonna be working with Horsley Witten Group, who also helped us do the town hall campus, and they were great to work with, so that should be good.
Great.
And that is all I have.
Okay, yeah, I see updates on municipal aggregation. Was there?
Not really anything, though,
Okay.
it's happening, yay.
Right. Yeah.
How many, I've forgotten, how many people actually, most everybody applied, stayed with it?
Yeah, 90% of people stay.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, and that's what they predicted.
Right, but I'm not sure, I mean, have we had an update in one of these meetings? So, I mean, I think there were some emails, so,
I don't know, I mean, like,
but 90% is good.
yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
great.
That's awesome.
And people are saving money and using more green energy, and
Yeah.
as Barry mentioned, one of the meetings, opt out anytime if you want to,
Yeah.
so.
You opted down, I think you said.
I took the, which one did I take?
I think you
There's-
mentioned that, yeah, you didn't opt, I think, you mentioned you took the lower
Yeah.
cost
Right.
one.
Yeah.
So
Trying to
still,
save some money.
still in the program.
The default was at 10%, the opting up was at 25%, and the,
In fact, I gotta check my bill and see if I'm getting a rate, because it's been about 3 months.
Okay, yeah, I just went with the default. I took the
Yeah, I went with the
do
default.
nothing action, if you can call it an action.
Yeah.
The
default.
inaction action,
No, I called in and told them,
right?
Great,
So Barry would be getting a lower rate, and, the state, renewable energy percentage.
Yeah,
Hooray.
yeah, I think the rate's much lower than Mass Electric.
Or National Electric,
Grid.
National Grid.
Yeah.
that-
I don't know what National Grid did for their fall rate, but compared to the summer rate, it was quite low.
Right, and the plan that 90% of the people are in is also better than National Grid.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
everybody's saving money and 90% are getting more renewable energy.
Yeah, we really wanted to make sure that people were gonna save money,
Yes.
but also get a little bit greener.
So anything else?
Motion
You did it.
adjourned.
Second,
I'll second.
I was wondering if you all were aware that that the DPU has told, National Grid that, that when people, that the National Grid has to create a new rate for people who are going from, propane or oil or gas or whatever to electricity, that the National Grid has to create a new cheaper rate for people who have heat pumps.
Well, we have a residential heating rate, which is less than,
That's what?
they have a residential heating rate already.
Yeah, but this is apparently, the DPU this is new in like the last 2 weeks or so. Yeah, they did it with Unitil and they're gonna do it with, they told National Grid that, and I'm sure Eversource will not be far behind. So, for people with middle income, low income.
Mhm.
So that,
So is it for everybody or for people?
I think for middle and lower income.
Okay. All right, why don't we do a roll call for adjourning?
Brugos, aye?
Have a roll around.
Barthel, aye.
Mazar, aye,
Nero, I.
and Peter probably said aye too. All right. Thank you.
Night.
See you.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
Night.
Super.
Have a good night. See you on the next one.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.